Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to set up some sheet files and put a generic title block and set up some views. So first thing I'll do here is we see that we have our base level, finished floor, level 2, 3, and this is essentially our roof. We have some default elevations and a couple sections that we cut. So we want to place all those on sheets. So what we'll do here is we go to sheets all, and you'll notice that there's no expansion tab here. That means there's no sheets. So I'll right click on this, new sheet, and by default Revit has this E1, which is a 30 by 42, and we'll say yeah, we'll use that guy. Yep. In the project browser on sheets all, just right click there, and so now we'll notice that we can expand that, and we have our first sheet, A101, unnamed. You can right click here and rename it here, or you can actually double click here and change it here as well. Right. Those are editable labels. So let's just look at the title block itself. It's a family on its own, right, that we've loaded in. So just like any other family, you can load your own family. You can load AutoCAD files. So let's just look at the family itself. No disk drive, please insert. That's not. Okay. So now we'll see this is all individual line work. It's just a default template from Revit. Right? And we'll notice those labels here. We can look at those things, and the prompt is a sheet number, and it's giving you this default input. Right? Just so you guys know kind of what's going on. You can insert your own AutoCAD one. You can develop your. You could copy this one and develop your own Revit one. So this is our typical, and we'll say that'll be our. We'll name that. First floor. You notice it updated here. And we'll put our finished floor here. It's just as easy as this, dragging that over and placing it here. So you'll notice that with this view type, it gives you the name that's associated in the project browser, the scale, and the number itself. These things are all editable here. If you would like to change the scale, you can go to the view itself, and if you pull this here, you can change it to whatever scale you'd like. Let's just, for fun, change this to 1/4 inch and go back to our sheet, and notice, right, it's too big. Another way of doing that is, this is essentially a viewport, just like AutoCAD. Another way, and just like you can double click on a viewport and edit it, you can right click and activate view, right? And that'll give me my chance, okay, I'll just bring it back to 1/8 inch because it fits, and then I can deactivate view. Right. So let's go to that view and say I want to really tighten that crop boundary. Right, it's not showing, so I'll show crop region, and let's tighten that up. You'll notice that the section marker moved with my cut. Let's just move this guy in a little bit. Tighten this up just a bit more. Closing all these auxiliary views. Drafting. Oh, did I? That's a different project. Okay. So let's do another sheet. I will go here, new sheet, same template, unnamed. I could rename it here. Let's start with our elevations. We'll do east and north So a couple things to look at when setting up views where, especially with sections and elevations, if you're setting them side by side, Revit likes to do a thing where it'll align the levels, right? So you don't have to try and align those things manually. It's lining up level 3 with level 3, right? So it's gripping to that, or the title itself will grip. And you could really do both. I could grip that and then select the label itself, and it'll align there. So there's some kind of predefined functions that really help you set up and format your sheets really well. So for this case, I'll just stack them. Let's do one more sheet. I'll use the same one there, and let's throw a couple of our sections in there. So again, I'll modify this activation and modify my section view, deactivate view, and you'll notice that the label is down low. We can move it up here. So it's as easy as that, setting these things up in simple format. Then it's a matter of just annotating, cropping your views, and format however you'd like. But that's just a real simple way of setting up a generic sheet set.
Could you show us, did you do the floor plans already?
Yep. Let's go to our first floor level here. You'll notice in the project browser too, once I have my sheets set up, I really stop using this view all section, and I really work off of my sheet files, because I get to access the sheets themselves, and I get to access the views within the sheets. So really, it's letting me select this floor level, but just, it's easier. It's letting me access the views that I'm really using that are on sheets. So it kind of narrows your project browser navigation.
Did you go over annotating the title block itself?
Briefly, yeah.
And say for instance, I wanted to add a special call outs. How would I input the call out symbol? Like a corner call out, or for instance, Magali's question.
Oh, great. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go to our section and develop a couple detail views.
The section leaves out the best part of
Oh yeah.
the part.
What do we want to put in there?
The floor. What?
So
The ground. He wants the section to go lower. So
Okay, I gotcha. So let me take a look at my sheet view.
you can go over scales too, right?
Yeah.
you can modify it in the sheet, you can modify it
In the view itself. Yep.
In real time or either way.
Yep. So again, you'll notice that it's letting me align my levels. So, let's do a call out. Let's go to that first section. Let's say I want to call out this window head or door head. So just like a section, I could do a call out or a section, but let's just do a call out itself. It's going to let me install this small bubble and give me a reference here. You'll notice in your project browser, it'll be in drafting views. There's detail 1. ZF. That's not it, huh? Call out of section 1. Okay, so I placed it in sections. Same thing, crop boundary. This is what I was trying to get at. Let's look at these two different boundaries. So this is the actual crop boundary, and this is an annotation boundary. So let's say I start annotating this detail. Let's say window head. So right now the text is within the annotation boundary. But if I pull this text so that it extends outside of that annotation boundary, it's going to disappear. It's going to clip those things. So a lot of text, so say I do an enlarged plan and I duplicate that view and it already has all this annotation, I can clip it so it doesn't show any of the annotation, it only shows the annotation of where I want it. So I'll select that crop view and I can pull that out so that it can include my text.
Can we put this detail on one of the sheets?
Yep, let's do that. So I want to rename that as window head. And then I'll just go to my same section sheet and place that here. First off, you'll notice that initially it doesn't have any reference. And once I place that on a sheet, it automatically numbers it, scales it, shows me the title, and it associates that detail. Right? So this is where some of the parametric capabilities of Revit really start coming into play. Let's say I remove that from that sheet, start a new sheet called details. I'm sorry. Say A105 details. Get that here. It's updated that to A105. So let's look at, let's say I want to call out a detail that I already have drafted in Revit. And let's say, okay, I'll go to annotate, and where is it? Where's this guy? I want to go to a drafting view. Let's say drafting view. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting up kind of a 2D file. Right? Let's say I'll do 3 inch equals a foot. And I'll just do a few detail lines just as a reference. And I'll look here in my drafting views and I'll say window head enlargement. And I'll go to view, call out, or let's do some double embedding here. So now I'm in my detail view. I'll go view, call out, and I'm not going to reference this. I'm actually going to go and reference that drafting view. So you go reference other view. Select that, and I'll go through, and it's showing my window head enlargement. Right? And I select that. So it's really not referencing anything in the model itself, but it's still smart in terms of referencing. So let's put that, that's a different project. Let's put that window head enlargement on this sheet as well. And we'll notice now it's been updated to this here. So even though it's not actually modeled, it's still smart in terms of referencing.
So that would be like an example of that would be like if you have a site plan that's calling out the restrooms, and then in that enlarged plan, you'll call out like the tile finishes and how it comes together. That's how you would like, I guess, stack your references and reference a reference.
Right. So and that it's really helpful using the referring view call out, and you could do that with sections as well. Is say you have a full AutoCAD library or a full Revit library. It doesn't actually need to be modeled in your project. You could just have those drafting views and refer to that.
Could you do me a favor? Sure. Could you do a couple of call-outs on the one on the elevation, one on the section, one on the plan view, and then put them all on that detail sheet? Like so, do it a couple of times. So do one call-out on a different drawing. So say, for instance, you just did it on a section, right?
Yep.
So do one on section 2.
Okay.
So it's a repetitive kind of.
Okay, yeah, so let's do that. So I'll do a call out, and I want to reference that same call out.
Yeah.
So I'll go reference, and not the enlargement, but I want to go to the actual window head itself, even though there's no window here. So there we go. So it's going to take me back to that same detail.
It's a little complicated.
That's complicated?
Yeah, you want to make it super plain. Let's try to just make, like
Okay, yep. So let's do a roof to wall detail. So I'll do another call out here, and I'm not using the, I'm just gonna go by here, select that area, and now it's giving me that location in the model to reference. All right, and I'll see in my sections here, it's a call out of section 2. I'll rename that to bird's mouth.
Kind of like what are the stairs like?
Get these all lined up. Okay, let's do a section of the stair here. I'm gonna go to my first floor plan. I'm gonna set up another small section here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do an enlarged plan here. I'm gonna go to that enlarged plan and set up a section. Yeah. So let's go. This is, and you'll notice whatever view I'm in, it highlights it here in my project browser. So it's a easy way to kind of find where you are. We'll call this stair section. I'll modify the clipping here. I'm going to hide this because I want people to actually just reference that other section in plan. And when it's really nicely drafted, I like to turn off the crop view, just so it shows the graphic. I don't like having the boundary. Same thing here. So I'll hide that crop in the view. That was the same thing of getting to this same, kind of two different ways of doing the same thing. And I'll also hide this one because this is really a building section, not a stair section. And let's place that section on my section sheet here, our details. Where was that guy? So now let's go back to my finished floor and see all that referencing in action. So I got my stair sections referencing the sheet, the sections referencing to the section sheet, the enlarged plan here, just following these referencings all the way through. Right? And let's say 1/4 inch. Let's say I want to make this a little bit larger. So I'll activate that view, and let's say I'll make that 1/4 inch. How about 1/2 inch? I'll deactivate and then modify that again. Line that up. This is obviously way too large. So let's go to window head enlargement. Where's that guy? There we go. And I'll modify that guy to say 1 inch. Oh, let's go 6 inch, 1/2 inch. Make it really small. There we go. And you'll notice there's kind of 2 ways that I'm modifying these viewports. The viewport itself is highlighted, and it lets me drag the line, but I can't drag the label, right? In order to modify the position of the label, I have to select the label on its own. So I got stuck on that a lot of times, so that's a good trick to know.
And do you have a cover sheet with a 3D view?
Cover sheet with the 3D view, I can do that as well. Yep.
And then if you could show how to make PDFs, that would all be.
Oh yeah, of course. So we'll go again, new sheet view, and I'll go to my 3D view. And let's say this is the one that Jules set up, and that's a nice section actually. Looks good. I'll use that one. Move that here. I'm going to modify that here. Going to activate this view. Let's see what we can do here. Crop view, crop view. There we go. Actually, I'm going to.
Could you do a regular one also? Because some people might not want a section 3D view.
Okay. I'm just going to remove that section cut. There we go. And it updates there. Okay, so now that we have our sheets set up, let's export them. So I'm just going to minimize all these so we really see what we have here in terms of sheets. We have 1, 2. Do we have anything on this sheet? Yep. Okay. We can call that sections. That's our 3D view. All right. This is our set. We'll go to print. And there's a couple different ways of printing. So what I'm looking at here is current window. So essentially it's going to give me the current window that I'm working in. But because I want to export sheets, I'm going to go to selected views and sheets. I'm going to select that and go into that dialog. And what it's showing me all my views and all my sheets. If you're doing kind of check sets or check views, I could deselect all the sheets, and it's just going to show me the views I have. But we want to see the sheets. So it's going to show me all the sheets I have. I can do check none or check all. We want to select all of them. Do I want to save these settings for a future session? You can if you like. I'm not for this example. And then I want to go to the settings here. I know it's Arc E1. Let's see if they have that defined here. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, let's compose with printer. Let's go. Yeah, I'm going to go Adobe PDF. Back to the settings. There it is. Arc E1. Landscape. Vector. If you have a lot of images or imported JPEGs, you want to probably select this for raster processing. I want it to be centered. I don't want it to fit to page. I want it to be zoom so that it's scaled. If I have any auxiliary, so say I have like some working sections or some working details, I want to hide unreferenced view tags. Right? So if they're not placed on a sheet, if it doesn't have a reference or it's not placed on a sheet, it's not gonna print those references. Hide scope boxes, hide crop boundaries. I want to do black and white, black lines. And then you'll also see here, create separate files. So it'll create an A101 file, an A102 file, A103, so on and so forth. I want one PDF with all 6 sheets inside. Makes it easier. And then my path, desktop, sounds good, project 2 PDF. It's going to verify with Acrobat, and we'll say check set the desktop. This will be Revit. If you select separate files, that dialog box will come up for every sheet, and you could name it individually and path it individually. So what it's doing, it's really bundling all of those here. Yep. So we'll see. Let's check. I'm going to check the properties here. Yep, 42 by 30. They seem centered. do a quick thumbnail check. They all seem centered. They seem to have printed correctly. Let me walk through quickly how we could get DWGs out of all these as well. Yeah? Is that okay?
I just know the video can't be long piece.
Okay. All right, we'll cut it. We'll talk about exporting DWGs in the next session.
Just so that it doesn't